I came home for Christmas from medical deployment and asked my daughter, was the $1,400 I sent each month enough? She looked confused. What money? My parents went pale. My sister changed the subject. I didn't yell. I did this. 3 days later there was a knock at the door. The turkey was dry. It always was. I didn't say anything. 6 months on deployment and this was my reward. Lukewarm stuffing, fluorescent cranberry slices, and the same brittle silence I grew up with disguised as tradition. My daughter sat across from me at the table. 18. First year of med school. Same bags under her eyes I used to have. Same posture too, back straight like you're trying not to fall asleep or fall apart. Maybe both. She looked good though, tired but good. That kind of tired that means you're doing something hard and haven't given up yet. At some point I asked, was the $1,400 I sent each month enough? My daughter blinked. What? The money I sent while I was gone. She tilted her head just slightly. What money? The $1,400 I sent you. Every month. Her fork froze. Then dropped. Not dramatically, just enough to make a sound. Across the table my mom flinched like someone had turned the lights too bright. My dad shifted in his chair. My sister suddenly got very interested in her wine. You sent that to me? My daughter asked. I nodded. Of course I did. Rent, books, food. I wanted you to focus on school. I thought you couldn't afford it, she said. Then quieter, Grandma said. Oh, my sister chirped, loud and too cheerful. Is that the pecan pie over there? I thought we were skipping dessert. I didn't look away. What did Grandma say? My daughter glanced around the table. Just that, you were under a lot of pressure. That you wanted to help but couldn't. That I shouldn't bring it up because it would upset you. The silence after that wasn't dramatic. Just heavy. My mom dabbed the corner of her mouth like she was in a movie. My dad picked up the gravy boat and poured it like the table wasn't on fire. My sister cleared her throat and said something about coffee but didn't get up. Wait, my daughter said. You actually sent it? Yes. To where? The usual account. Grandpa's. He turned to them. Not fast. Not accusing. Just confused. You said she couldn't help. My mom stood up. Well, this is getting unpleasant. I think I'll go put the kettle on. You let me believe she didn't care, my daughter said. She wasn't yelling. Just realizing. She's being dramatic, my sister mumbled. She's exhausted, I said. She's 18, my sister snapped. Not everything is about her. She made it through her first semester of med school thinking I abandoned her. No one spoke. My mom busied herself with the teacups. My dad finally looked up. My sister poured another glass. My daughter sat still. Not angry. Not crying. Just stunned. Like someone had pulled a rug she didn't even know she was standing on. She looked at me. I looked back. And in that second I knew she finally saw it. My dad cleared his throat. Maybe we should all just take a breath. My mom straightened the salt shaker like that would fix it. You said she couldn't afford to help, my daughter said again. You said she didn't care. She didn't, my sister said. She's just rewriting the story now to make herself the hero. I worked double shifts, my daughter said. Her voice cracked. I didn't sleep. Oh, for God's sake, my mom muttered. You survived. Stop acting like it's a tragedy. She made it through her first semester thinking I abandoned her, I said. No one had anything to say to that. I stood up. So did my daughter. I'm coming, she said. I didn't argue. I didn't look at any of them. I just walked to the door. He followed. We didn't speak in the car. Not until we were a few blocks away and my hands stopped shaking. He was staring out the window, jaw tight. I wanted to say something, anything, but I knew better. I've been her. Sitting beside someone who meant well, trying not to fall apart because if you do you might never come back together. I pulled into the first gas station still open, parked under a flickering light. Was it really every month? She asked. Her voice was low, almost careful. Yes, I said. 1,400 for you. 400 for their house. I sent it on the first every month like clockwork. Through Grandpa's account. Because of the exchange rate. She nodded once. Stared out the windshield. Her eyes didn't blink. I watched her trying to figure out what kind of pain was in her silence. Anger? Grief? Some blend of all three. You thought I didn't want to help, I said quietly. She didn't answer. I almost reached for her hand but stopped. She wasn't ready for comfort, not that kind. Instead, I sat there and let the truth settle around us. I thought I didn't matter, she whispered. Like maybe you were finally free and didn't want to come back. I closed my eyes. No, I said. Never. We sat there a while longer, two people frozen in a gas station parking lot, trying to thaw 10 layers of betrayal. We drove to a small hotel on the edge of town. Everything else was closed. Christmas after all. The night clerk didn't ask questions. I gave him my card and didn't flinch at the price. The room was clean, quiet, dim yellow light. 2 beds, 2 chairs, 1 coffee maker that probably hadn't worked since the Bush administration. My daughter took off her shoes and sat on the edge of the bed. I couldn't afford groceries, she said. Sometimes I skipped lectures just to pick up extra hours. And every time I thought about asking you, I'd hear Grandma's voice in my head. She's doing her best. Don't be a burden. I sat down beside her. Close but not touching. She made you feel like asking for help was a crime, I said. She nodded. So I just stopped asking. I swallowed hard. I know what that feels like. After my daughter went to sleep, I opened my laptop, pulled up the banking portal. First thing I did, canceled the $400 I'd been sending my parents every month. Gone. And then I just sat there, staring. If they stole this from her, what else did they take? My heart started racing. The house. My house. The one my sister Tara begged to live in while I was gone. Said renting was too expensive. Said they'd take care of it. Pay the mortgage. Keep it all up so I wouldn't have to worry. That was the deal. That's the only reason I didn't list it. I could have had tenants. Real ones. I could have made money. Instead, I handed the keys to my sister and told myself it was fine. Family, right? I clicked into the online mortgage account. And stared. No payments. Nothing for months. I froze. My brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe the site was glitchy, maybe it hadn't updated yet, maybe. But it was all right there. Month after month. No payment received. I sat there, laptop balanced on my knees, trying not to throw up. If she hadn't been paying it, had I just lost the house? 3 days later, there will be a knock at my sister's door, and nothing will be the same again. Let's rewind. At 5, I couldn't tell you how many moms I'd had. The one with the rabbit mug. The one who smoked menthols. The one who locked the fridge. I don't remember their names, just the smells, the ceilings, the different words for dinner. One woman told me I couldn't see a doctor because there aren't enough doctors for that. I think that's when it started. The wanting. The idea that maybe I could be the person I needed. I never grew out of it. My parents adopted me when I was 5.5. After years of infertility tests and just relax and it'll happen, they decided to open their home to a child who needed one. Their words, not mine. The first year was a Hallmark montage. New toys. Warm food. Matching pajamas. I was their project and they were determined to get it right. I learned to say thank you without being reminded. I learned not to cry when I was scared. I learned to fit. They were trying. Really trying. I call those the happy years. And yes, I still feel guilty for calling them that. Because then came the miracle. When I was 10, my mother got pregnant. Naturally. After being told it was a 1 in 1,000 chance. She glowed. They cried. The neighbors brought casseroles. And when the baby was born, everything changed. I became the extra. The before photo. The understudy who still hung around backstage. They didn't mean to. That's what people always say. But when the baby smiled, they clapped. When I got an A, they nodded. When she cried, they ran. When I cried, they asked if I was being dramatic. I started hearing it in whispers. That phrase. You should be grateful we saved you from the system. Later, it became, you should be grateful we did all this for you. And I was grateful. I tried to prove it with grades. With chores. With silence. My sister didn't have to prove anything. He just had to exist. She had music lessons and birthday parties and the kind of bedroom you only see in catalogs. I had poster putty and secondhand clothes. When she broke a plate, it was a learning moment. When I did, it was a character flaw. But I loved her. Of course I did. She was my little sister. She had no idea. When it came time for college, I didn't ask for help. It never occurred to me. Asking felt greedy. I thought I should be able to do it on my own. I told myself it would be romantic. grinding through 12-hour shifts and late-night study sessions. I thought I'd be some kind of self-made legend. In reality, I was bone-deep exhausted. I once fell asleep waiting for a bus and woke up to a stranger poking me with a pen. So I made it. Just barely. Once I got my degree and started working, I felt like I owed them. After all, they'd saved me. So I paid for things. Groceries, bills, vacation help here and there. When my sister went to college, I covered a chunk of her tuition. It was unspoken, expected. That's how our family worked. My success was their deposit slip. Even when I got married and moved abroad, the money kept flowing. My dad had set up an account optimized for international transfers. Better rates, fewer fees. So I used it. Every month. Like clockwork. My husband stayed abroad after we separated. I didn't. I came home with my daughter. She was one. Fierce. Loud. Bright. I didn't have a lot, but I had her. And I swore she'd never feel like an afterthought. When she turned 18, she told me she wanted to study medicine. I said yes before she finished the sentence. But college is expensive. Rent, books, food, lab fees. And I knew my job wouldn't stretch far enough. So I signed up for deployment. It wasn't easy leaving her. But the pay was better and she was already moving into a dorm. I told her I'd send money every month. $1,400 for her expenses, plus $400 for my parents to help with their mortgage. Same setup. Same account. Grandpa's. And for a while I thought it was working. We spoke on Zoom sometimes. Not often. She always looked tired. Distracted. I figured she was adjusting to student life. She never brought up money. I assumed that meant she was okay. I thought I was holding everything together. Until Christmas. Until that dry turkey and that one awful question. Was the $1,400 enough? And my daughter said, "What, $1,400? That night I opened the mortgage account again. This time really looking. No payments in months. For a second I panicked. Was I about to lose the house? Had they let it slide into foreclosure? Then I saw it. Temporary hardship pause, approved. Filed under my name. No foreclosure. Just a pause. I exhaled briefly. The house was safe. But someone had impersonated me. Filed paperwork. Claimed hardship. Faked my identity. There was only one person who could have done that. 3 days later there was a knock at my sister's door. But first I made a call. I called my friend Ethan. Ethan had been a broke law student when I was already working ER shifts and quietly paying his overdue dentist bills. He's a lawyer now. With a sharp mind and a better memory than he lets on. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey stranger," he said. "Still off saving the world one shift at a time?" "Yeah," I said. And apparently funding fraud from the sidelines. That got his attention. 30 minutes later we were sitting across from each other at a nearly empty diner. Ethan in a hoodie and coat that didn't match, me in jeans and the same jacket I'd been wearing since the airport. I didn't even bother with coffee. I slid my laptop across the table and opened the folder. Bank records. Transfer logs. Screenshot of the mortgage pause. He scrolled. Then scrolled again. Then exhaled. "She impersonated you? Looks that way. And this account. Your parents knew the $1,400 was for your daughter?" "Yes. Every month. Like clockwork." He clicked through the messages I'd forwarded. My mom thanking me for taking care of the kid. My dad confirming when the next deposit would arrive. My sister. Well, she didn't thank anyone. But she sure as hell cashed it. "And the house?" Ethan asked. "I have a written agreement," I said. "My sister promised to cover the mortgage while she lived there." "Did she sign it?" "She typed her name," I said. "Electronic agreement. I needed something on record for the bank since I was going abroad. They wanted proof it wouldn't sit empty." Ethan nodded slowly. "And you have the messages showing that the $1,400 was for your daughter?" "Yes. You realize this is solid. Not just civil, this could be criminal." I stared at him. "Will I win? You want them prosecuted or broke?" "I want them to stop pretending I owe them everything." He looked at me then. Really looked. And said, "I think it's time to go knock on some doors." We drove to my house the next morning. Felt strange saying that. My house. After all these months. I hadn't seen it in over 6 months. I'd been planning to rent it out. Maybe even sell it. But my sister had called crying about how hard it was to find a decent place. So I'd offered her mine. A roof over her head. In exchange for covering the mortgage just like any tenant would. Except now she wasn't a tenant. She was a squatter with a credit card history of theft. Ethan stepped out of the car with a manila envelope. Calm. Professional. Like this was a Tuesday. I knocked on the door. It opened halfway. My sister blinked at me. Then laughed. Well. Look who finally came home. I brought you something, I said. She took the envelope. Opened it. Eviction notice, she read. Oh honey. That's cute. Ethan smiled. Legally binding. Effective in 30 days. She rolled her eyes. Yeah, don't worry. I'm moving out anyway. Already bought my own place. I stared at her. You what? He shrugged. It's done. Keys are in hand. Thought I'd treat myself for Christmas. That was when I noticed the boxes behind her. Taped shut. Labeled. Half the house already packed. She wasn't bluffing. And then I saw them. My parents. In the kitchen. Wrapping dishes. Helping. What's going on? I asked. You're all here. We're helping her move, my mom said like it was perfectly normal. I'm sorry, how did she buy a house? With money, my sister said. You remember what that is, right? I stepped inside. Boxes. Tupperware. Framed pictures. Where did the deposit come from? I asked. My sister grinned. From not wasting cash on rent. Ethan raised an eyebrow. She means the mortgage she was supposed to pay. Tomato, she said. I turned to my parents. And you're fine with this? My dad crossed his arms. She needed a home. You weren't using it. I wasn't using it because I was working myself to the bone overseas, I snapped. To support my daughter. And you. Oh please, my mom said. You act like we forced you. You took the money meant for her. We needed it more, my sister said flatly. Your daughter was fine. She was working 2 jobs. Living on cereal. She thought I abandoned her. She didn't die, my mom said. Stop being dramatic. Ethan took a step forward. We'll be in touch. You'll be hearing from us again. This time about the mortgage, the theft, and the impersonation. My sister rolled her eyes. Go ahead. I've moved on. I looked at her. You stole from my daughter. Lied to me. Impersonated me to a bank. You think this ends because you taped some boxes. She smiled. You're just jealous I'm better at life than you. That was when I stopped talking. Ethan handed her the second envelope. It was thicker. What's this? A formal demand, he said. Repayment of mortgage value for 6 months. Restitution of stolen funds. $16,800 to be precise. And damages. She laughed. Damages. You impersonated her to pause the loan, he said. My sister shrugged. You should be grateful I have paused the payments for you so it didn't go into foreclosure. You act like I trashed the place. My mom folded her arms. She's your sister. I turned to her. You told my daughter I didn't care about her. She was being dramatic. She skipped meals. She was 18. She should grow up. I looked around the room, at the woman packing china she didn't own, the man polishing silverware he never paid for, the sister who'd stolen a future and called it moving on. And then I said, I'll see you in court. That night I went to see my daughter. She opened the door looking tired but calm. She had a paper in one hand and a pencil behind her ear. I'm sorry I didn't call earlier, I said. She stepped aside. I figured you were busy suing people. We sat on her bed side by side. I confronted them, I said. They didn't deny it. She nodded. I figured. I also found out they've been using your money to help her buy a house. Her face barely moved. Just a slow sinking kind of stillness. Okay, she said. That's not okay. I mean, it makes sense. To them. I was always optional. Not to me. I know, she said quietly. I looked around her tiny room. Notes on the wall. Food wrappers. A second-hand kettle with no lid. You won't have to work 2 jobs anymore, I said. I'll make sure of it. She nodded. Do you hate them? I asked. I don't think about them, she said. I don't have space. I reached for her hand. This time she let me. And we sat there. In silence. But this time it felt like healing. They said it wasn't theft. That was their opening line in court. Their lawyer, some stiff in an ill-fitting suit, stood up, looked the judge dead in the eye and said, "Your Honor, the money was a gift." I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so deeply, insultingly stupid that if I didn't laugh I'd scream. $1,400, he said. Per month. Transferred through the grandfather's account. No formal conditions. That fits the legal definition of a voluntary gift. He actually looked proud of that logic. My lawyer stood up, calm as ever. We have text messages where the plaintiff clearly states the money is for her daughter's living expenses and tuition. The judge nodded. Let's see them. We handed over the screenshots. The ones where I'd said, just sent her college money for November. Same amount as last month. And, please make sure it goes to her. And, if I miss the first by a day, just transfer it anyway, please. The opposing lawyer glanced at the texts and pivoted like a gymnast. Well, he said, that may be the plaintiff's intention, but there's no evidence the recipients agreed to those terms. And no legal contract was in place. I swear if eye rolls were admissible we'd have one right there. Then came the real circus. They brought my dad up to testify. He walked like he was going to a church pulpit. Raised his right hand. Swore to tell the truth. My daughter is a doctor, he began, and she's done very well for herself. When she started sending money we thought it was her way of showing gratitude. We raised her after all. We saved her from the system. We didn't ask her to send that money. She did it freely. He actually looked misty-eyed when he said it. Then my sister took the stand. And if my dad was a sermon, she was a full-blown one-woman play. She flipped her hair. Bit her lip. Spoke softly. I was going through such a hard time, she said. My boyfriend and I were barely scraping by. When she offered the house I was so grateful. I said I'd do my best to cover the mortgage, but it was never, legally binding. My lawyer raised an eyebrow. Did you or did you not sign an agreement stating you would pay the mortgage in exchange for living in her home? She looked at her shoes. I mean, yeah, but that was just, an informal thing. Sisters help each other. Then came the kicker. They submitted the hardship pause as my idea. Their lawyer said I'd called my sister, panicked about losing the house, and asked her to file the pause on my behalf. She was overseas, he said. It was easier for her sister to handle domestic paperwork. I almost choked. My lawyer stood. Your Honor, that contradicts the signed mortgage agreement. And we have a recording, captured legally, of the defendant admitting she impersonated the plaintiff to the bank. The judge's head snapped up. Play it. So we did. It was from my phone. Audio I'd recorded the night we handed her the notice. Right after she laughed and said she'd already bought a new place. I'd hit record before knocking at the door. Now it played on full volume in the courtroom. Ethan's voice. You impersonated her to pause the loan. Then my sister's voice, bright and smug. You should be grateful I have paused the payments for you so it didn't go into foreclosure. You act like I trashed the place. The room went quiet. Her lawyer slowly lowered his pen. The judge leaned back slowly in her chair and said, well, that's illuminating. From that moment on, their case deflated like a sad party balloon. The judge ruled in our favor. Full repayment. Damages. Legal cost. But of course there was a catch. My sister didn't have the money. She'd used it, all of it, as the down payment for a house. A house she now owned but couldn't afford. She begged for installments. Cried in the hallway. Said she'd go bankrupt. Said it wasn't fair. The judge didn't care. 2 weeks later, after she failed to pay the court-ordered damages, the judge approved a transfer of ownership. The house she'd just bought, the one she was so proud of, was officially mine. Her equity in it came out to almost exactly what she owed. It wasn't fast. But it was, without question, satisfying. And just like that, the house she bought with stolen money was mine. The next day I called my rental agent. 2 houses. 2 tenants. 2 income streams. I called my daughter. She didn't say, I told you so. She just said, so, we won. I said, we did. She said, I quit my second job. I smiled. Good. You deserve to sleep again. She paused. Do you mind if I keep the barista one? Just once a week? I kind of like it. Sure, I said. Whatever makes you happy. I went back to deployment for 6 more months. Not because I had to, but because I wanted a buffer. A little financial cushion before I came home for good. This time everything was different. The money from the rentals went straight to her. Her rent. Her food. Her textbooks. For the first time in a long time she wasn't just surviving. And neither was I. We Zoomed every Sunday. She showed me her notes. Her stethoscope. Her dorm now tidy and quiet and hers. Sometimes she'd say things like, "It feels weird, how easy school feels now." And I'd nod. Because I knew what she meant. When you've been drowning, breathing feels like luxury. 6 months later I came home. We hugged in the airport parking lot. No speeches. No tears. Just warmth. She had a light in her again. Her eyes weren't tired anymore. We found a small apartment near her campus. I didn't move in with her, God forbid, but we had dinner once a week. Sometimes more. We talked about her future. About med school. About specializing. About life. And about family. Or lack thereof. "I blocked Grandma," she said once while stirring spaghetti. "And Grandpa. And Aunt Tara." "Good," I said. "I don't feel bad." "You shouldn't." We clinked forks like wine glasses. The house they bought with stolen money. Now it funds her future. And as for me, I don't miss them. Not their birthdays. Not their guilt. Not their silence. Some families break. Others get cut loose. Either way, you breathe better after. And for the first time in years I can breathe just fine. So, did I go too far? Or not nearly far enough? Some people say family is everything. But what is family really, if it turns its back on your child? I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. And if this story made you feel anything, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss what comes next.